I'm Lee Rosen for Divorce Discourse. Today, my guest is John Cilio. He's an identity theft expert, the author of 4 books on the topic. He speaks nationwide for Fortune 500 companies and agencies like the Department of Defense, the Federal Trade Commission, FDIC. John's a Harvard grad and a media rock star. He was just on 60 Minutes. John, welcome to Divorce Discourse.
Lee, thanks for having me.
I want to dig in on law firm security and protecting client data and that sort of thing. But before we do that, I know you had a personal experience with identity theft, and I'm wondering if you'd be willing to tell us what happened to you.
You bet. I actually had a couple experiences. Unfortunately, the first time I sent out unshredded documents in the trash that had identity on them, and a woman, believe it or not, used my identity to purchase a home in my name, and then when she could no longer make the payments, she defaulted on the loan and declared bankruptcy as me. So that was kind of the first case. The second case was my business partner used my identity to embezzle from our clients. And I spent the next 2 years fighting to stay out of jail. I lost my business, lost more than $300,000, and it kind of woke me up. That's when I started writing and speaking on the topic, and now that's what I do full time.
Wow. Yeah, you have experienced it firsthand. Well, you know, law firms, we collect lots of sensitive financial records, sensitive medical records. We've got all sorts of confidential notes and documents in our files. Where do you see us as being most vulnerable?
You know, let's start right at the beginning. It's something we've all heard about, but document shredding. There is a study has just come out by fellows, the shredder people. It's called the Workplace Data Security Report. And it came out with some numbers. Here's what they are. 81% of us are still handle confidential documents every day, but only 62% of us have ever been trained adequately on how we deal with those, what we do with them at the end of the day, and about 25%, or 1 in 4 people, still leave that stuff out overnight and when there's clients in the office, or throw it out in the trash. And here it's such a simple, elegant solution. I mean, you get a crosscut paper shredder, you put them throughout the office. In my office, we use the Fellows 79 CI series. It's 100% jam-proof. You never can, you never kill it. It works and works and works. And if it's working, of course, you're safer.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. And of course, we've got one of those shredders going, it seems like, full-time. Aside from shredding, what else should we be focusing on?
You know, I think it's really important to take a look at some of the newer technologies, like smartphones, for example. That smartphones and tablets are a major source of trending theft. And it's because they're full-fledged computers that we're not protecting even with a simple passcode. 60% of Americans do not have a passcode on that phone, and yet it's just like a computer. Wi-Fi, we tend to use free Wi-Fi hotspots. Well, the way that I say it is the only thing that's free is your data, because it's being broadcast out there into the ether, and anybody can pick it up. You got to look at those technology issues. And then finally, social media. We put out so much on Facebook and Twitter. You have to be really conscious of what you're putting out there and the effect that it could have.
Makes sense. We're getting a lot of pressure in our industry to move our data from servers that are housed in our offices to cloud-based applications and services. Should we worry about security if we make that shift?
Yeah, unfortunately, the cloud is kind of an unknown right now. And as a lawyer, you'll know the phrase, possession is 9/10 of the law. My phrase for cloud computing right now is possession is 10/10 of the law. If you have possession of the data like Facebook does of our personal information, or Google does of our surfing habits, or a backup site does of your client files, number one, you might not be compliant. Certainly in the legal profession, you're probably not compliant, or in the financial world. And what happens when that company that is hosting your information, what happens if they go bankrupt? Those assets are sold off and go to another company, and your information is an asset. Or if they merge and they're now international and there are different laws that govern it. When you put it in the cloud, you want to be really certain of the service level agreement you're making with that company to make sure that your data is protected even in the event of disaster.
If I wasn't nervous before, John, I certainly am now. We've covered a number of issues here today. Any final words of wisdom for us?
Yeah, I think the important thing is you can't just listen to this. You have to take action. You have to initiate some tasks on this. And what I would say is go out and get yourself more information. If you want to learn about the shredding, go to the fellows.com site. If you want to get more on a broader array of privacy concerns, social media, go to my blog site, which is sileo.com, sileo.com, and start to do something. Don't just listen to it.
John, thank you so much for joining us on Divorce Discourse, and I really appreciate your effort to help us keep our data safe. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I'm Lee Rosen for Divorce Discourse.